Hey guys, this is Tom Hanks and welcome to another stream. Today we are, of course, as I'm moving my microphone, today we are going to be doing the community challenge in automation. Well, another community challenge, I should say. It will be the Luxury Sedan in 1995. So this time we did actually get a reasonable amount of entries. I believe it was like 8 or 9, and yeah, that'll be fun. So let's see what we got. Okay. Automation is still loading, but it should be up in a second. Yeah, so this, by the way, there is automation. This, by the way, is going to be my last stream before I move back to Austria. The reason I'm moving back to Austria is so I can work from home for the company that I'm already working for, without having to rent an apartment here in the Netherlands. Gosh, if I could speak. Because this apartment is expensive as fuck, and basically all of them are here, so yeah. Anyway, so I guess we'll go. I guess we'll jump right into it. Actually, I'm gonna present my car first. This is the one you saw in the thumbnail of the community challenge. Yeah, so this is by no means, by the way, the best possible car you could build. I've deliberately made some decisions that are not 100% optimal, and that's okay. So basically this uses the Audi looking sedan body here. As we can see, it is a steel monocoque and corrosion resistant steel monocoque and panels. We've got longitudinal rear-wheel drive, 5-gear advanced automatic, and double wishbones all around. This weighs nearly 2,000 kilograms, and it's got a 6-liter V8 under the bonnet, making 408 horsepower, 535 Newton meters of torque. Pretty nice torque curve as well. Yeah, and it is fairly comfortable. Has like what is 58 comfort, 60.9 prestige, 64.8 safety. It costs $73,000, which is a little bit more expensive than it would realistically have to be, but it does pretty well in GT Premium. It's not the fastest car, of course, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna limit all cars down to 250 kilometers an hour anyway. This is simply because that started becoming a thing in 1995 or around that time, and obviously with a car like this, like these cars are built for, you know, wealthy people to be driven around, or alternatively people who just want a very, you know, smooth cruiser that can also go down the autobahn relatively quickly. Hi Scron says, how's it going? So yeah, that would be my car. So now, let me see. The first entry was this, the Lux Deluxe IMP Aurus, which was by, let me see. That was by Random. So let's see what we have here. This is the same body, I think. Yeah. And it has corrosion resistant steel monocoque aluminum panels. It's got also rear-wheel drive, 5-gear advanced automatic, multi-links in the rear, as opposed to the double wishbones that I had. And it's got a 6.5 liter V12, so let's check that out. Okay. So that definitely has VVL. It does. Personally, I'm not a fan of VVL on an engine for a car like this, because you see that he's giving up a lot of torque in the low RPMs, which, you know, he could have more of it if he just increased the cam profile to say like 25. But what was it, like 12? Yeah, it was 12 exactly. And then there's a huge bump here again. I don't like that for a luxury car, because while this does make the torque curve look more flat, a flat torque curve is actually not 100% what you want with a car like this. You want all of the torque to be in the low to mid RPMs, because most of the time you're just going to be cruising in automatic rather than sport mode. Like you're going to be cruising in normal mode rather than sport mode anyway. And as a result of that, it's going to shift early, and therefore more torque in the lower RPMs is going to be beneficial. So we have hard long life road tires here, which is kind of interesting. Vented discs all around, no under tray, luxury, and no CD player. Was apparently too modern for this car. We do have brake fade on this one. Could have probably gone with a 4-piston setup. And then safety, +1 quality in the suspension, no rear sway bar stiffness. And this one is gonna have quite a lot of understeer, I see. Now, I am going to drive all of these cars in BeamNG, of course. How will the winner be decided? There's a couple of factors. For one, I'm gonna look at the competitiveness here in these markets, like the luxury premium, GT premium, luxury, these sort of categories. That'll be one part, and the other part is how they actually drive on the roads. I will not be judging these like sports cars. So that means I will not be judging them based on which car performs the best on the track, but rather which one is like the most drivable, the smoothest, the one that rides best. And of course, if there's a catastrophic amount of understeer or oversteer, then that'll also affect it. But if it's not that much, then that's completely fine. Styling, I have to say, the front could use a little bit of work. The bottom part at the very least. I'm missing some fog lights at the very least, and maybe a little bit of a chrome trim as well. The rear is decent, but could maybe use a little bit here in the middle as well. Okay, so that was the Imp Aurus Lux by Random. I think it's overall a fairly good car. It is quite cheap, so he could have gone in. He could have gone a little bit with a little bit more quality on some things to make it even better in those high luxury, in those high tier luxury markets. And I'm actually surprised that it's so cheap, considering that it's got a V12 Yeah, but I guess the internals are quite cheap, so it's a yeah, the family is 7.6 liter. The variant is 6.5. Okay. Yeah, I'm surprised that it's that cheap, to be honest. Very front-heavy brakes. It's a 4-seater, okay. I mean, as it probably should be. But where is he saving all that money? I don't quite understand. Is it really the CD player that's costing so much? It is costing quite a lot. Let's see. It's like 8,000, an extra 8,000 for the CD player. I mean, that's gotta be the reason why he chose with the, why he chose the cassette instead. I guess he saves money by not having a turbo. Yeah, but at the same time, my car didn't have a turbo either, and it was also only a V8 rather than a V12. And I had corrosion-resistant steel panels, no aluminum. So I don't really know how this is so much cheaper. But I guess credit where credit is due. He did a fairly well job tuning this car. I guess, again, I don't really like VVL on these luxury cars, but I'll say one thing is, won't be the last car that has that. So let's see, this is the Lux LM. And that one is by, let's see. No, that's not his. This one is by... Where the f... Okay, oh, there it is. This is by LHH. Okay, now the styling, I don't really think it's that appropriate for a 90s luxury car. Especially these indicator designs, they look cool, but too futuristic for the time, and these vents on the bonnet don't really have to be there. And the same goes for the spoiler on the back, so it's like Braffman, okay. I mean, I guess I should have also read the name here, giving me an easier time finding out who the creator is. Early 2000s concept, could be, maybe, as far as the looks go. Anyway, let's get to this car. Galvanized steel monocoque, corrosion resistant steel panels, that's all fine. Rear-wheel drive, 5-gear advanced automatic, double wishbone multi-link, nearly 2100 kilograms, and a 6-liter twin-turbo V12. Okay, so this is another VVL car, but this one, I mean, here's the thing. You have a 6-liter V12 and you add 2 turbos. Considering those circumstances, 640 Newton meters is really not a lot. Yeah, like a 0.538 bars of boost. This is more like a tune for efficiency, as opposed to one that's just for, you know, immense torque, like a lot of twin turbocharged luxury engines would be. And that by itself is, well, fine, but at the same time, you could get a lot more torque out of this engine with a 6-liter twin turbo setup. Like, this is one heavy lump of an engine. It's nearly 400 kilograms. And I guess the turbos weren't really necessary for an engine like this. You could get 410 horsepower without a turbo easy. But I guess the turbos also make this thing a little bit quieter, and that would add a little bit of extra comfort. Gonna limit this to 250 as well, just like all other cars. And viscous LSD on this one, 235 front, 245 rear, a whole lot less understeer. We'll see how that pans out. It might actually oversteer quite a bit. Vented discs all around. We have some downforce on this one. That's interesting because that hurts not only the theoretical top speed but also the efficiency. I'm curious how each car their engine sounds like. Yeah, we're gonna hear that in BeamNG. This has the Luxury CD option, and then it has traction control and ABS with electric power steering. This is active comfort suspension, and not as soft of a setup as the previous car. With a plus 50% markup, it is a little bit more expensive than the previous car, but not much. However, it doesn't do nearly as well in these categories. Like the last car was just very, very good in all of these categories, so I think I'll keep that one in mind. This is very fuel efficient, but that's not necessarily all that relevant in this competition. But kind of nice to have. Styling, I don't really like it for a 95 luxury car. For like a super sports sedan, maybe. Although even then it's a little bit futuristic. But the aggressive look would certainly suit a you know, super sedan more than a luxury sedan. So I guess we'll have to find out how this one drives, because while the stats themselves aren't bad, it does not do as well as the previous car in the market, so it does get beaten there. And I don't like the engine as much. By the way, I'm also gonna go ahead and now I'm gonna export later. So the Stanley 500 SI, this one is by Sergeant Snoopy. I know that one by heart. So this has a corrosion resistant steel monocoque and aluminum panels. By the way, the look, I don't know. It's not bad. It kind of looks like an upsized Mazda Miata front end or something like that, with the kind of happy face and the fog lights next to it. The rear end, obviously the lights resemble an E46 BMW, which in 1995 didn't exist yet. But I also like that this one's not black like pretty much every other car. Is that actually... That is a little spoiler there, huh? Interesting. But nicely integrated, almost didn't see that. Hey Dr. Love, how's it going? Subaru, I don't see a whole lot of Subaru here, maybe except for the vents on the bonnet. This is a 5-liter V12 which has been turbocharged. So let's check that one out. Okay, now this is a very high revving engine actually for a car like this. It revs to 7,500 RPM. It does not have very much turbo lag because it doesn't really have any boost. Like 501 Newton meters, you could get that without a turbo. Easy. And a 444 horsepower as well. Which in this in this sort of situation, you could probably just get rid of the turbo because it really only adds a whole lot of weight that doesn't really help you with that much. I'm doing great. What about you? Yeah, I'm doing good as well. Like today will be the last stream before I move back to Austria, so there will be no stream tomorrow, and I'm not 100% sure yet how the stream schedule will be once I'm back in Austria, because I don't know how the internet connection there is going to be yet. Let's see, anything else that's worth mentioning here? A huge exhaust diameter. 98 ignition timing, so looking for a really good throttle response. The smoothness is very, very good, 92.9. And it's a very quiet engine. Let me see if there's any other... No, there's no new submissions since the stream started, which the submissions are closed now anyway, but just to make sure. Limited to 250 like all the other cars. 235mm tires all around on medium compound. Alloy rims, and we have a 5-speed advanced automatic as well. Assembly count on the tray, and again this one does have some downforce. 55 cooling airflow, 100 brake airflow. Not entirely sure why that is, but I guess it might help. And then Luxury and Luxury CD, Advanced 90s safety, active comfort setup. Not particularly soft, but a little bit softer than normal, I guess. And on the market, with a plus 50% markup, it costs 64,136. I've sent an email in the response last night, internet went down and didn't have all the rules written down, so might have broken one here and there. I don't believe you did. There weren't that many rules anyway. Yeah, so this car is good, but the engine is probably the kind of thing that lets it down a little bit. Again, it's a really, really heavy engine, and the turbos just add weight that doesn't really do that much, because you could have gotten these numbers without a turbo as well. Yeah, I mean it's a good sort of solid rounded car, but it could do better in a couple of different things, and that is also reflected in the market. But I like the fact that it's not black, unlike 90% of the other entries. Next up is the Cosimo. That one was sent in by Carlo Vincenzetto. Carlo Vincenzetto, yeah. Oh, thanks for following, Dr. Love. Appreciate it. Let's see. This is steel monocoque and treated steel panels. I haven't seen that one in a while. I like the chrome plus indicator arrangement on the mirrors. There's a lot of detail to the aesthetics of this car. I like that. We've seen these taillights before though. But this one does make it work a little bit better, I think. I like the rear end. I like the side as well. I like the way this car looks. Like the aesthetics are pretty well done in my opinion. Looks very classy. Looks like a luxury sedan should, in my opinion. Anyway, where were we? 5-speed advanced automatic, double wishbones all around, and a 6.5 liter turbocharged V12. Now this one, single overhead cam, 2 valves per cylinder, no VVL, cast crank. It does handle it just fine. Heavy duty cast conrods and forged pistons. And this one is, you can really see that this one is tuned for some extra torque. It does kick in at about 2100 RPM, which is fine in my opinion. And it does make 416 horsepower and the rest only to 6 grand. It has and 2 reverse flow mufflers. It's got 0.728 bars of boost. Could always have a little bit more, of course, but this is what I was talking about with the other turbo engines we've had so far. Like they were turbocharged, but the power and torque curve were basically the same as on a naturally aspirated engine because they didn't really have any boost. And as a result, if you're not gonna get any extra torque out of the turbo setup, because you can easily get this sort of power from a 6.5 liter V12 if it's naturally aspirated, of course, but you can't get this torque without a turbo, at least in the low to mid RPMs with this capacity. And that's the advantage of the turbos here, of course. So let's limit this to 250, like all the other cars. 245s front, 275s rear, 18-inch alloy rims. Then we've got very front biased brakes. We've got vented discs all around, but we do have a little bit of brake fade as well. Can't go any higher there. Oh, it's because the pad type is very low. I guess if that were 50, let's remember this is at 29 right now. What is it? What is the brake fade like at 50? Still a little bit of brake fade, but a lot less. So 29 it was. There we go. Fully clad under tray. A little bit of brake airflow, but not a lot. And then 4 seats, luxury CD. Variable hydraulic TC plus ABS, advanced safety, and then hydro pneumatic system, hydro pneumatic springs I should say, and then fairly stiff sway bars. The rest has been softened a little bit compared to normal, but this is not a super soft sedan. Which I guess could be an advantage that it isn't, because it might drive better as a result. This one with 50% margin, it costs 57,850, and it does really well in the markets. So this one is definitely a strong contender so far. And it uses this, the sort of fuel that you would expect from a car like this, 22.7 liters per 100 kilometers. I'm not gonna judge that because this is not a competition about fuel economy. This is a luxury car challenge, and these things, I mean, today of course there's hybrids and diesel S-classes and whatnot. I guess those have existed before, but you get the idea. Today there are efficient luxury cars, but in 95, if you wanted a proper luxury car, it would use a ton of fuel. That's just how it is. Yeah, but I like this one. The Cosimo is a really good entry. I like the look, I like the engine, I like the way it performs in the market. Is there anything I don't like that much? Let's see. Hey, the music's back. And now it's gone. Is there anything I don't like? Well, the brakes. But I guess we'll have to find out more about those in BeamNG in our test drives. Apart from that, I feel like this is a fairly solid entry so far. It has the Subaru vibes for some reason. I don't see a whole lot of Subaru in that, but okay. Next up is the Escobarda. That one was sent in by, let's see. That one was sent in by Brian. So, this is a very aggressive front end look. I like what you did with the patches though. And this looks more like a sports sedan, I have to say. Very big mirrors actually. Black rims, like everything's black with but except for the chrome accents all along the line. I guess you could have also fitted some on the rear just to make it go all the way around. There is a little bit of chrome here, of course, but overall this looks more like a sports sedan than a luxury sedan. Still uses the same body, of course, and it's a corrosion resistant steel and aluminum panels. Front longitudinal rear-wheel drive, 5-speed advanced automatic, double wishbones all around, and it still also weighs over 2,000 kilograms, and that is oh, not, oh, you meant oh, you meant Snoopy's entry with it looks sort of Subaru-esque. Yeah, okay. I forgot the name of my car. It's something with Castro and the Escobar, so it's probably this one, isn't it? Okay. So this one has a 4.5 liter V12, which has been twin turbocharged. Let's take a look at that. Okay, first look at the power and torque curve. I don't like it. Cam profile and VVL profile are very close together. Again, we have pretty low boost, very low AR ratio, but very big compressor and turbine. This makes it so that the turbo kicks in very late. We also only have adrenal bearing and no ball bearing. That will give us a little bit more torque, but would also bring it in fairly late. This runs mechanical fuel injection and it's at 91 octane fuel. Multiple injection is actually cheaper and just better. I don't know why you went for mechanical fuel injection. 2 straight flow mufflers, which means this engine isn't going to be quite as quiet as the other engines. Let's see how this one does. Limited to 250. We've got a 5-speed advanced automatic, viscous limited slip diff. 235 front, 255 rear, 20-inch steel rims. Not quite sure about those. Then we have vented discs all around. We do have a lot of brake fade. Like really, with rims this large, you could have easily fitted bigger brakes and gotten rid of that brake fade. We have a downforce under tray and actually just a tiny bit of rear downforce, which is coming from where actually? And probably just the under tray itself. Does it have anything here? Well, it doesn't have any aerodynamic fixtures in the back. It just has the under tray, I guess. And again, 100 brake airflow, and still it has a lot of brake fade. This is my first time making a luxurious car, is it? And then this is a variable hydraulic power steering, ABS setup, advanced 90 safety, active comfort suspension, fairly soft dampers, that's good. And overall the suspension tune seems fine. There's a lot of roll angle though. I don't know why the roll angle is this enormous, but it's a hidden spoiler. Where? I don't really see it anywhere. It reminds me of a sporty sedan version such as the Audi S5 kind of cars. Not a bad thing, because those are in my opinion a bit more difficult to make. The S5 is really only a coupe, isn't it? So it would be the S6 instead, but I guess I know what you mean. Anyway, this one, how does this do in the market? Well, it's at 70 grand, but it doesn't do that well here. So overall, I would think this is probably one of the... Oh, under the radio. Oh, so under this, here there's the spoiler, okay. But anyway, I would think that this is... Ah, yeah, the tiny little thing here. Okay, but overall this is probably one of the weaker entries so far. It doesn't really... the looks are more like a sports car, or a sports sedan, I should say. Sorry. 20-inch rims are not really adequate for this type of car in my opinion. And then the engine, there's a lot of things that could be improved on there as well, in my opinion. So yeah, this one is probably one of the weaker entries so far, but let's check out the next car. This is the Ghost Corsa. This one we've also had a couple of. This one we've also had a couple of troubles with at first, but now it's all good. This one's by Charbel Dager. I hope I pronounced that correctly. So again, this does look very much like a like a sports car, but I do appreciate that this has a different, that this is using a different body. The wheelbase is 2.75. I said it has to be at least 2.8. I'm gonna let it go, but you know, it might be a little bit. It might be more like an E-class rival based on the size of it, rather than an S-class rival in that perspective. S5 has a coupe and cabriolet and 5-door fastback version. Yeah, it does today, but it hasn't always, has it? I believe the first S5 was a coupe only, if I'm not mistaken, but I could be wrong on that. Anyway, the looks again look very sleek and sporty, but also kind of elegant, in my opinion. I like the badge design here. I like the chrome front grille, which is adequate but not excessive. Again, I like the details on the mirror and the details here. And yeah, nice rear end design, I would also say. And then what does this have mechanically? So it's a corrosion resistant steel monocoque, aluminum panels, rear-wheel drive, 5-speed advanced automatic, double wishbones all around. This one is fairly light, and that is because it only has a 4.6 liter naturally aspirated V8. Let's take a look at that. Okay, so again, this seems to be a car with VVL. Yep, indeed it is. Now, considering that the torque curve is so flat, and considering that all of the components could take a lot more RPMs, you could have gone higher RPM here. It does use quite a rich fuel mixture, but I think with a little bit more RPM, this could have had quite a bit more power. Yeah, look at that. 350, 353, I guess, would be the maximum. But yeah, okay. 6,000 it was. We have a freeway cat, one baffled, one reverse flow muffler. So again, this is still fairly quiet, but we've had quieter cars. I wanted to do the Crown Vic body, but I couldn't make it look good. Yeah, it is kind of a challenge. And see, this engine only weighs 248.8 kilograms, as opposed to some of the other engines we've seen that were like nearly 400. And this keeps this car light. Is that... What is this here for? Is that gonna be like a front parking sensor? And if it would be, then why isn't there another one here? I don't know. But yeah, we've got a gear limited slip diff. I've also limited this to 250 already. 235 front, 265 rear. I think that's a fairly good split. 17-inch magnesium rims. Magnesium maybe a little bit overkill. The issue with that body is that it forces you to make a Crown Vic. The default 95 body is a good base. Look, let's show Audis, Mercedes and BMWs from that era, and you'll get an idea how to make a good car. But your car is a good... I mean, yeah, it's a... the Crown Vic sort of body is... You can make it look good, in my opinion. But, whoa, look at that brake split. But somehow it works. Because I guess the brake bias is very rear biased compared to the norm. It's an interesting choice with the balancing. Also very, very aggressive pad type that does hurt the comfort. And you do see that this only has 33.6 comfort, which is the lowest we've seen so far, I think. No under tray, we do have some wing angles, but yeah, this does have a front lip. No rear lip though. Again, here is also this thing, which could be a rear parking sensor, I guess. And again, the question, why isn't there another one on the other side? But okay. Lots of brake airflow, and yet still we have some brake fade. 4-seater luxury CD. Advanced safety. Active comfort, semi-active. And this is fairly stiff suspension, actually. Considering what for the kind of car it is. Obviously a sports car could be stiffer, but for a sort of large sedan, and it also rides fairly low, so this is more of a sports sedan yet again. Well, I tried to make mine look like a BMW Lexus mix. Sadly, I need to get better with building engines and suspension brakes too. I like the challenge. Yeah, I mean, this is the sort of thing, you know, way back in the day when I first got into automation. First, I tried to build for fun as well, and then, you know, I entered 1 or 2 competitions and I did horribly. But I learned from the better cars that got submitted, and eventually it made me build my cars with a little bit more refinement, although I still wouldn't say that I'm the best car builder out there. I usually have a relatively solid idea on how to make a specific car, but I'm by no means the best at it. So this is still missing the markup. $53,706 dollars. Does okay in GT Premium, but in everything else it's kind of not that good. Like in luxury and luxury premium, it is just missing the comfort. It's only at 33.6, which is again the lowest we've seen. In GT Premium it does compensate by having good sportiness, but for the actual luxury categories it doesn't do that well. I guess there's some more work to be done, especially on the suspension on this one. Maybe a little bit. Actually, the engine is fairly good in my opinion. Could be slightly revised too, but I guess most of the work that needs to be done on this one is in the suspension. It's just too stiff. My first car was basically a death box, and I call it, and I call doing 0 to 100 in 15 seconds in an 86 sports car extremely fast. You'll get better, that's a fact. My first one was a BMW copy with 900 horsepower. After all the cars, can you show me the eco car? Which eco car? Are you talking about the one that I submitted to Nasri's community challenge, the eco hatchback? Next up is the Beecham Boss Windsor. That one is by Vinny Scarletto, aka Sedan 57 Chevy, who I'm surprised is actually not here yet in the chat. So this one, I like the looks. It uses the 1975 sedan body, especially from like the front 3/4. If you take away the Rolls-Royce like blocky square grille, I think it has a lot of Jaguar XJ in it. A little bit of Alpha as well with this general body shape. I I like the way it looks. It's very elegant. A very elegant design, and indicators all over the body. And the rear end just screams 90s 7 Series to me. Yeah, that's a 7 Series. But I like it. I think it's a very elegant looking car indeed. Let's check out the mechanical parts of it. Galvanized steel monocoque, aluminum panels, river drive, 5-speed advanced automatic, double wishbones all around. And this one is a 5.7 liter V12 with 402 horsepower, and it's naturally aspirated. Again, this uses VVL, but the difference between this and the others we've seen so far is that the VVL on this one kicks in fairly early. Still, this doesn't have a whole lot of torque down low, but it does rise in like the mid RPMs, and then it drops off. I would say that 7500 RPM is kind of high for a luxury car challenge. You forgot Bentley. Yeah, that's a little bit of Bentley in there as well, but can you put up the files to download the cars in the YouTube description? Tom, you need a Discord server. Actually, what I need to do is give you guys an invite, because I already have one. And I also, of course, need to make some changes to it in order to make a separate channel for community challenge subscriptions. But I do have a Discord already. I do need to just see. Okay, give me a second here. Hold on. If I make a okay. Right. Okay, so I'll put the link to my Discord server into the description of the YouTube video once this goes on to YouTube, which should be tomorrow. And this will have a direct invite link, so you do not have to look me up and enter a code or whatever. You can just join via the invite link. Yeah, I did indeed join his Discord. Anyway, back to this car. The engine does rev pretty high for a sort of luxury car V12. I believe that I would have preferred a slightly higher capacity engine that revs a little bit higher, revs a little bit lower, excuse me, but makes more low-end torque. But this is still a pretty fine choice in my opinion. And it makes 403 horsepower. Limited down to 250, it already is. 5-speed advanced automatic, geared limited slip diff, so it might oversteer some. Then 235s all around, sports tires, that is, and especially the magnesium rims, that is a fairly, that is the sort of choice that you'd see on a sports car, minus I guess the tire width, because 245s is really not that big for this sort of power. And then very big vented discs. And how does this car still have brake fade? I mean, I guess it's a very big car, but so is every other car in this competition, I guess. Fully clad under train, no aerodynamic fixtures, therefore no downforce. Luxury CD. Advanced 90 safety, and you have a hydro pneumatic spring setup with a fairly soft suspension setup, kind of slightly softer than normal. The front sway bars have been stiffened. Roll angle is still fairly high, but it is overall a a reasonable tune in my opinion. And the stats reflect that. 63.6 drivability, 62.8 comfort. It costs $51.7 thousand and it does very well in these markets. So I think this is a strong competitor. Compared to what we've seen so far. So this is a very solid engine. Not just engine, very solid entry in my opinion. What are its weak points? I guess, as I said, maybe the engine a little bit. But it is fine as it is. What else could be improved? The brakes, I guess. Going back to 50 peta, or just adding some quality as well could help. You see? Or some brake airflow. How much would that reduce the brake fade? Not at all, apparently. In real life it would, I guess. Okay. But yeah, I like this car. Really do like it. My car is a boat. You'll see what I mean. Let's see. We have the Einwagen Tourer. That one was sent in, let's see. Oh, it's not that. Who was that by? That was by Anselmo Pereira. Yeah. So, this uses the other body. This uses the Crown Vic body. I like the rear end. I kind of like the color too, in that it's different from, you know, black. I think the front end could use a little work in that the middle area is completely empty besides the number plate. So it could maybe use a bigger lower grille or something like that. But apart from that, I think it looks okay. Again, the rear end is very empty down here, besides the number plate. Anyway, corrosion-resistant steel monocoque partial aluminum panels, all-wheel drive on this one, and then a 5-speed advanced automatic with door wishbones up front and multi-link on the rear. And it's a 5.6 liter naturally aspirated V12. Okay, now this is the sort of torque curve that I like on a car like this. See, this is the sort of tune that I was expecting more people to have. Like lots of low and mid RPM torque, then it drops off a little bit. Very flat power band in the higher RPMs. This is a very nice tune. It revs to 7200 RPM, although of course the power is basically flat from like 6000 RPM, so you could cut it off at 6.8 as well. And this is the sort of car that's great for cruising, because when you do cruise in like normal automatic mode rather than sport mode, you're going to be shifting at like it's going to be shifting at like 2200 RPM. Then it's going to go down to 1600 RPM, and then there will still be torque, right? Yeah, I like this. And let's see, 17-inch sports tire or 17-inch rims on 225 sports tires. That's not very big, but it is all-wheel drive with a front, with a sort of front bias split. Again, I'm going to limit this to 250. Geared to limited slip diff. vented discs all around, a slight bit of brake fade, but not a lot. And then fully clad under tray, no aerodynamic fixtures, therefore no downforce. We have a Luxury CD, and then advanced 90s safety and active comfort suspension. The dampers are pretty soft, but the springs are sharper than or stiffer than normal, which is an interesting setup. It does sit fairly low, and as a result I think it well, it isn't really missing out on comfort. In fact, what is it missing out on as far as these categories go? Oh, it should have 4 seats instead of 5. Gotcha, yeah. What if we make that change? Yeah, then it does very well. Then it does very well here. So since pretty much everybody else's car was a 4-seater, I'm gonna count the stats of the 4-seat version of this as well. So with that, it is very much up there with the best we've had. I'm gonna put the 5th seat back in there, just for the driving purposes in BeamNG. I wanna drive the car as it was in the first place. But I just wanted to see how well this does in the markets, if it, you know, if it has 4 seats like everybody else's car, and it does very, very well. So this is another strong competitor. I believe we have one more, and that is the Lebelge Leopold, which was sent in by Jan. Yeah, this was sent in by Jan. And I like the gold color. First thing that jumps out at me, but the looks are Audi. Like with these headlights and the grille right between them, with this sort of bumper and the fog lights down here, with the tail lights being the way they are, and the number plate being up here. This is an Audi. But then again, this body does lend itself towards that. Front longitudinal all-wheel drive monocoque. Okay, so this is another all-wheel drive entry with partial aluminum panels, 5-speed advanced automatic, and a 6.2 liter turbocharged V12. Okay, I see this torque curve and I see what you were getting at. I see what you wanted to do. Scron says, oh, that's your entry. I didn't know that was you. But anyway. Yeah, okay. Yeah, the city could. Okay, yeah, I'll show you that car and a little bit later. So this engine, I know what you were getting at. You know, making a very flat power curve at the top end, and that is not necessarily bad. But if you're gonna go for this much, if you're gonna go for like a torque spike, then 706 Newton meters isn't extremely impressive, considering that this is a 6.2 liter turbo. You can get upwards of like 800-900 Newton meters with this with a similar style of tune easily. I guess the intercooler could be bigger, couldn't it? Yeah, look at that. Just increasing it by 1 point gave us 10 extra horsepower basically, and yeah. Also, you have a lot of fuel octane left to go. You're running 95 octane fuel and you're only at 91.4, so you could use a little bit more compression ratio, tweak the ignition timing, or anything along those lines, or add some more boost. So overall, I'm not convinced by this engine. I see the idea that you've had there, but the execution could have been quite a bit better in my opinion. Especially since the torque spike only comes at like 30 to 100 RPM, which is kind of late for a car like this. That is mostly going to be driven up to 2500 RPM or something, maybe 3000. Cut this down to 250 like all the other cars. This has an automatic locker, which is interesting. I think this is the only car we've seen that uses that. Then we have 230mm tires, front and rear. It's kind of, I don't know why automation even has the zeros available at the end, when all cars, like literally all cars in real life, have 195, 205, 215, 225, whatever. You never see 230mm wide tires on anything. But I guess it's an option, and you chose that option, and it's fine. Like, it's a reasonable tire width for this sort of car. No brake fade for once, which is good. It is achieved by it was accomplished by a fairly aggressive pad type though. And then we have no under tray, a CD player, advanced safety, +9 quality in this section. That does help out quite a lot with drivability and comfort, so that is a very good idea to add that. And then active comfort suspension, it is fairly low, but the suspension is, I think, soft enough. This graph is not pretty though. So yeah, the bump graph isn't really ideal. So we would probably see how that works out in BeamNG on a bumpy road. But overall, this does do very well in the markets. I can't deny that this is a strong competitor in those markets for sure. But I don't really like the engine, and I believe that the suspension could use a little bit more work. But overall, it is a very nice car. So let's see. That was the last entry we had. This is a car that I'm gonna look at outside of the competition, because it is Vinny Scaletto's second car, and I can only allow one car per player. But I'm gonna take a look at it regardless outside of the competition. This is my eco car, and it is a 2020 hatchback, of course. And I'll just show you around a little bit. This is kind of the reason it has these bumper bars on front, side, and rear is because this is supposed to be sort of a beginner's car, and so just so you don't scratch it that much when you inevitably hit something when parking. So that's the idea behind that. It has a 1.2 liter turbocharged inline-3 engine. Not a whole lot of torque, of course, but it is extremely efficient at 35.5%. And as you can see, it does very well in City Eco. And it has an 8-speed advanced automatic, but it does hit top speed in 6th gear. The rest is overdrive, just as is standard pretty much these days. It has a gear limited slip diff, and it's front wheel drive, which the diff should eliminate the understeer in practice, even though it does have some understeer on the graph here. But in BeamNG, I've driven it a little bit, and it doesn't actually understeer that much. What else is there to say about this? It does have the suspension tuned a little bit more towards comfort and drivability than towards sportiness, and fairly cheap materials, of course. And with a plus 20% markup, it's at $10,467. So it's cheap. And the fuel economy is actually amazing. Let me calculate that for you real quick. Liters per 100 kilometers to MPG. This is 54.7 US miles per gallon that this car does. Yeah, it's front-wheel drive. The weight distribution is actually not awful. And the reason it's front-wheel drive is because... wow, look at how tiny this engine is. The reason it's front-wheel drive is because this improves, first of all, the weight, because you don't need the drive shaft to go all the way to the back. And secondly, also, well, thereby also the cost and also the practicality. Because if you have a large drive shaft going all the way to the back, then that'll also limit passenger space and trunk space a little bit. And all of these things matter when it's about like city eco and whatnot, because practicality does count. But of course the big factor with this one is its efficiency. It's really fuel efficient. Okay. So time to export all the cars. I've already exported this, of course, and now let's go export everything else. In the meantime, I'm gonna just mute myself a little bit and take a drink. Okay. I know I was really thirsty already. Really needed that drink. Let's see. Export. Are you going to use the city map? Yeah, I will, most likely. Mandatory drag race? I don't think it's mandatory. I will drive one lap in each of these cars on the automation track just to see how they handle in general. Because while it is fine if they understeer or oversteer a little bit, if there is a lot of understeer or, you know, a lot of oversteer, then that might get point reductions still, because you know, it should still be fairly drivable. And if it understeers so much that you can't go around the corner without hitting a tree, then that's no good, of course. F for my car then. We'll see. We'll see. So, all right. Let's see this one. There's this one. Now let's go to the next one. The Ghost Corsa might do fairly well on the track, because it is by far the lightest car in the competition. It's like at least 300 kilograms lighter than anything else we've seen. But on the other hand, it might not be the best luxury car. We'll find out. Uh-huh. We're almost done, I guess. I mean, the thing is, I'm pretty sure that some people, as far as the eco challenge goes, by Bashar Nasri, or however you pronounce his name, I probably butchered that badly, but in the eco car challenge, there's probably gonna be some people who use, like, 1.8 liter 4-cylinders and, like, or turbo inline 5s or stuff like that. And he does like to, what I've noticed is that he does treat like any car as if it should be a sports car and handle like one and brake like one and stuff like that, which is not always fair. And as a result, he might not like my car because it's slow, but it doesn't actually understeer that much, and it's an eco hatchback. Like, it's an eco hatchback challenge. If you wanted to handle like a sports car, make a sports car challenge, right? In my opinion. But that's just my 2 cents. We're done exploring cars, so I'll just quickly leave here and open up Beam. Shame you had to send in a hatchback, or I would have sent another Trabant. A Trabant, yeah. Man, whenever I leave automation and try to switch to another game, Steam just kind of completely shits the bed and stops responding. But we'll be here for another while, so it, if we lose 1 minute by Steam messing up, then that's unfortunate, but can't really do much about it. Okay, should be good now. Maybe not. Oh, come on. Okay, there it goes. Have to adjust the size again, please. Full screen. So first, I'm gonna start on the automation test track. Also, by the way, I know that Nasri also has a Patreon that he that he uses so that people can request stuff like that, over there. And I mean, I don't know. I don't like asking for money, but maybe I might do something similar. I do have like a PayPal donation link for people who do want to give me money. But other than that, you know, I should, you know, if I'm gonna have a page like that, I should probably promote it a little bit. I guess that's fair. Now, where is my sedan that I have built? Did I delete? Oh no, wait, it's just, I deactivated it. There it is. Okay, so I'm gonna show you guys my car first. This is a 6-liter V8 again, with 408 horsepower, weighing just under 2,000 kilograms. Yeah, I braked way too late there. I wanted to get to 62 miles an hour. It does have a lot of wheel spin, but then again, that is to be expected on a rear-wheel drive car with a 6-liter V8 that doesn't have the biggest tires in the world. Well, a Patreon for your cars, maybe. I don't exactly know how you mean that. So basically you mean, hey, I build cars on stream, and if you follow me on Patreon, you can download them or stuff, something like that. I don't know. I don't wanna. I don't feel comfortable asking money for that. To be fair with you, like really. Yeah, I made a mistake there. This wasn't on the card, by the way. This was entirely on me. AKA drive the president in safety simulation. That was a really good time for that comment to come in right as I completely wrecked my car. Or the president's car, and the president as himself as well. Because he would have probably died in that accident. Oh, the brakes could be better. Yeah, the brakes do need some work on this one. They're not fading, they're just not powerful enough to stop this 2-ton limousine. There's actually not a whole lot of understeer either. Looks like the vice president will have a promotion, yeah. And he'll have a different chauffeur for sure as well. Preferably one who doesn't kill him. One who actually knows how to drive. So that was a quick look at my own car here. Let's see. Let's go in alphabetical order because I can't really. Because I can't remember what order they were sent in by, and my email inbox is kind of a mess, so I don't want to do that way. Is this thing on? Oh, yes it is. It's quick. Guys, I'm telling you, I'm being gentle with the throttler. Very okay, there I kinda tried to test the limits a little bit, because at first it was fine. It did take about 3/4 throttle to get the tail out there. So turns in relatively well, I have to say. Oh gee, my internet sucks. It's probably the most posh looking car and I love it. Yeah, this is... I like this car as well. It looks like a... probably like a blend between the BMW 7 Series and the Bentley from the rear, I think. Actually, didn't the Bentley have round lights in that era? Oh, okay. Yeah, a lot of understeer there, and trying to correct it, I did get into oversteer quite quickly thanks to that gear limited slip diff. Like, I figured that, I found that in this game, the gear limited slip diff does make the rear come loose very, very quickly. Otherwise, I mean, I guess the one thing this car would need is wider tires. Otherwise, it drives pretty damn well, I have to say. Oh, there I tried to do that a little bit, but I guess it was a little bit too much. With maybe like slightly wider tires, I might have been able to hold that slide. But overall, I'm not, you know, this isn't a car that's meant to do this. Is my point. So you're not supposed to do that. Yeah, I lost it again. Man, it's really hard to actually keep the slide going in this thing, because I guess it would need slightly wider tires, but as a luxury sedan from the 1990s, it drives well. I'm not gonna fault it for the oversteer that it has when you really poke it. You know, what else are you gonna expect from a V12 rear-wheel drive sedan? Next car. Doesn't want to oversteer at all. Maybe it does, but oh, the brake balance does make it want to oversteer. But through the corners this handles pretty damn well, I have to say. Even though the engine is maybe a little bit behind the 8 ball. Yeah, the brakes could be a little bit more balanced because I was actually counter steering on the brakes there. But it does not really power oversteer. Again, that was all from the braking, so the brake bias is very like the brakes are very front biased apparently, which means the rear end slows down less than the front end, making the rear sort of rotate around as if you had power oversteer, but this car actually doesn't have power oversteer. Even if you poke it, that was full throttle. I think it's open diff, isn't it? So that was the Castromilo Escobarda. Was much more like a sports sedan than like a luxury sedan in my opinion. But now we have the Cosimo, which was fairly good in automation. Lots of tire squeal, but not a whole lot of oversteer. Okay, there was the oversteer. It came in very gradually, very predictably. Oh, the brakes, yeah. Let's see, maybe I was just a little bit late on that one, but I'll keep an eye out on the brakes. Yeah, this engine does pull quite a bit harder than the V10 we just had, and it does it very quietly and very authentically. Much better brake balance, no brake oversteer. A little bit of understeer through that corner, but that's okay. A little bit of oversteer there. It does like burning the inside wheel, which I believe would mean this is a viscous limited slip diff. That's what that feels like in Beam anyway. But overall, nice handling car. Let's get into the next one. I like this. I like this one a lot, actually. Next up is the Einwagen Tourer. Which is apparently fairly quick. It's also all-wheel drive, and it had a little bit of all-wheel drive drifting and drift going on there. Nice. Okay. I like this one. Even though I didn't really like the engine tune and automation. The engine isn't really making a bad impression on me here. Brakes are good too. And all-wheel drive grip is definitely a really good thing to prevent oversteer, and this doesn't even understeer either. Like through that corner I was really expecting some understeer, but there just was none. Slight little drift on the way out. There it was running right at the end, but this drives really well, actually. I like it. Next, Ghost Corsa, yeah, sure. Wow, now this feels so much lighter immediately, and it is about 300 kilograms lighter than anything else we have in the competition. 300 to 400 even. But yeah, I was late on the brakes there. Wow, I was really expecting to spin there, but I didn't. Now this car, I believe it should go up against an M3 as opposed to up against an S-Class. So it drives really, really well, but it's way more urgent, way more, you know, sporty in its nature and in the way it drives than an S-Class would ever be. As a result, I can't really fault it for how it drives, like as a car, but I think it may just be submitted for the wrong challenge. Like, I like driving it, but oh. I like driving it, but it's more of an M3 rival than an S-Class rival. Remember that the M3 of 1995 also had what was it pre-1996 that it had 286 horsepower, and then after 96, or was it after 95 it had 321? I can't remember it. But yeah, this is similar in power, obviously heavier in weight, but it handles, it has very direct, very sharp handling. It doesn't really remind me too much of a luxury car, to be honest. Wow, lots of wheel spin on this one. Okay. Yeah. Heavy understeer for that corner, and heavy oversteer every time you press the throttle. And the brakes are not very good. So this is suffering from a lot of different problems, and mostly that the engine is just too much for the car to handle. It's a big, heavy twin-turbo V12, which makes it understeer a lot because the suspension isn't balanced. And once you do put the power down, I guess there isn't enough rear tire. Or once you do put your foot to the floor. Yeah, look at that understeer. I'm not on the throttle, and I was going cautiously through there. So this is just an anchor of a car, or of an engine, I should say. This is just an anchor, and did bring it back there by backing off completely from the throttle, but yeah, the handling on this one is not ideal. It does not want to turn in initially, and when you do put the foot down a little bit, it starts oversteering. So yeah, this is not a good handling car. Like I said, I'm gonna tolerate a little bit of understeer and a little bit of oversteer, but this is too much of both. I don't know how you did that. That the same car can understeer too much and oversteer too much. But yeah, this is just this is another well-balanced car. Let's just put it that way. Isn't this the car that has hard long life road tires on it? That might explain a lot of things, of course. But yeah, it does not drive well. That was this one, right? And now there's the LHH Brathman. Yeah, this one as well looks more like a sports sedan from the outside, of course. Much more controllable than the previous car, but also still quite a bit of oversteer. Not as understeery though. And the brakes are better. Yeah, okay, this still likes to oversteer, but it does not understeer like the previous car did. And it brakes better, so not bad. Brake about here. Was still too early, but there's some understeer. But that was manageable still. To be honest, I liked the way this drives more than I liked it in automation. But I mean, it's fine. There's nothing wrong with the way it drives. So this certainly passes the test. Although I do think there were cars that I liked a little bit better. Okay, still a good driving car. So then that was my reference car, and then we still have the Stanley 500 SI. Short spacing on those gears apparently. This also seems to be a car that does not have wide enough tires on it. Still spinning. Still spinning. Don't get me wrong, the drifting is actually controllable in this one. But for people, I shouldn't have said that. But for people who want to go in a straight line smoothly, yeah, this wouldn't be the first choice. There we go. Engine pulls hard. Even there it wanted to let go. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I like drifting as much as the next guy, but I like drifting sometimes. I like having the option between drifting and not drifting in the car, where this car does not give you the option. I think that's the way to phrase it there. Yeah, still spinning. Don't get me wrong, this is fun, but certainly not dignified as a luxury car should be. Oh, it even has a sport tag on the back. So, let's recap. The cars I liked most were this one was good, this one was good, and this one was good. And also this one was pretty decent. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna drive somewhere else. I'm gonna go to a more bumpy road. Oh, sorry. Thanks for reminding me. I almost forgot about that. There it is. Let's lock all the diffs and see how it goes. It's quick. Controllable oversteer there. That one was that only looked like understeer because I kind of let go of the left input on my analog stick a little bit. Ooh, okay, I don't like the brakes. Could use better brakes there. I did also oversteer there, then I lifted off the throttle and countersteered, and it went into the other direction. I guess that's what. I guess when an all-wheel drive car starts oversteering, just stay on it. Yeah, he can be really harsh to some people. he did also when he reviewed my police car and he showed the aesthetics. He was like, yeah, it has a really huge lower front grille, which does make it look pretty hideous. And I was like, dude, really? Okay, yeah. So the brake balance is certainly something that needs to be worked on this car. Although the brakes... Yeah, I just braked too early there. I like the power split because it does allow for some small drifts that are easily controllable when you want them. That's the difference to the previous car. Overall, the handling characteristics of this one are, yeah, I guess. The brake balance definitely needs to be worked on. Less front biased, ideally. But other than that, this handles decently. Not one of my favorites, but it handles fine. Otherwise, then again, you may have to brake hard in some situations in a luxury car. So you know, when you're blasting down the autobahn and someone in front of you is just going too slow, and they're not moving over, then yeah, that might be problematic. Let's go to Redwood Forest also, I guess. He needs to learn to think before he judges someone. I mean, later on, he did say that it does look tough, but yeah, I'm not sure he might need more Trabant. There was actually, I don't know if I've ever said this before when you mentioned Trabant, but there was I don't know if that place still has all those Trabants, but there used to be a place pretty near where I live in Austria that has just a it's sort of a shady used car sales point. It's not even really a dealer. It's just like, you know, people put their cars there and leave a sticker with the price and the phone number and whatnot. And next to that was an area where there was like 80 or 100 Trabants or whatever lined up. So I gotta think of that whenever I hear that. So okay, next challenge, we both make Russian copies. I'll go for a Lada and then a Yugo. Yugo isn't actually Russian, but you know. Let's drive this thing. I braked too late for that corner, but it did handle it beautifully after that point. There I went onto the throttle too early. These corners are very tight. Let's go this way. Actually, this isn't very bumpy of a road. I don't know. This is about as smooth as it gets, to be 100% honest with you. Let's go back up into the forest, maybe. Yeah. Okay, there were some cracks in the road, and it did that fairly well. Slab enough, yeah, fair. It does handle well here, but I do want to search for a different road. One that's a little bit more bumpy. Let's see. The industrial side, right? With the rallycross course? You know what? There is the Western Industrial Area, or the Open Industrial Area. Let's see. Rallycross, just to make sure that the cars will never drive again. Okay, here I want to see where to actually get to a road. This way maybe? And I'm gonna cruise here. This is what I was looking for. Okay, so this is definitely bumping. This is definitely bouncing around quite a lot, but it stays perfectly in line. So let's grab the next course. I'm not gonna bother going through all of them again, because I do have a few that I prefer to all the others, and I do value your guys'. Actually, fuck it, I'm just gonna split the video into two, I guess. Let's test all the cars, just to give everyone a fair shake, right? Shift. Shift. Okay. This bounces around less. It even jumped a little bit there. Well, yeah, that one was my fault. Good, honestly. Cosimo. This one is, I think, so far this is one of the ones that I liked most, both in automations and on the automation track. So let's see how it does here. I went a little bit too fast there. Very nice, actually. Did catch some air there as well. Yeah, this is definitely one of the strongest cars in the competition right now. This is going to be hard to beat because it's just such a good all-rounder. Let's check this out. Does move around quite a lot. Actually, there it was fine. Pretty good pretty good balance. Also very good. And then we have the Ghost Corsa. Actually, I may not have to split the video in two parts because this test is a lot shorter than the previous one. This one immediately feels more responsive and more quick. As far as the steering goes, mostly. Because the engines in all of these cars are powerful. So they're all fairly quick. This, yeah, expectedly, this does get upset by these bumps quite a bit though. If you go a little bit faster it's fine, but yeah, this is not... This really should be an M3 rival rather than a luxury car. So that one's out for sure, the Ghost Corsa. And let's check out the next one. Oh yeah, this one did fairly badly on the automation track, I remember. It even understeers there in very low speeds. Yeah. Okay, let's just say it doesn't do very well here either. So this one's out. Back. I don't know why I always skip over the Leopold. Probably because in my head it's like all submitted cars are black for some reason. But this one very much isn't. So let's check the ride comfort of this thing. Please shift, gearbox. Actually, all together pretty decent, this one. Oh yeah, there I went a little bit too much on the throttle, but yeah, ride comfort's good. But it didn't convince me on the track enough. Let's check this one out. comes the really tough part. Doing well, doing very well actually. Yeah, the ride comfort in this is pretty damn good. Okay, very good actually. I guess I did have some gripes with this earlier though, didn't I? Yeah, it looks like a sports sedan, and also I don't believe I like the engine that much, but I'd have to go back to automation to know for sure. And then I believe last but not least we have the Stanley 500 SI. Your car was which one again? So, you submitted from a different name, so I don't... Okay, now this one's bouncy. As you get a little bit faster, it gets a little bit better, but not the best riding car we've had. The Escobar. That was this one. Oh, this one did actually pretty damn well in the ride quality test. But now I guess it's time to find a winner. So we can count a couple of cars out immediately. So the Ghost Corsa is out because it drives like a sports sedan and it looks like a sports sedan, and it's 300 kilograms lighter than the second lightest car in the competition, so it doesn't really fit the category. Therefore, this one's out. The Imp Aurus Lux does fairly well in automation, but in Beam it just drives pretty badly. The LHH Bravman rides well, but apart from that, the other performances didn't really convince me, especially in automation. The Leopold has one major problem, that is the brake balance. Otherwise, it's a fairly solid car, I would say. And the Stanley did decently at most things, but it didn't really stand out in anything in particular. So we had a couple more cars left. The Beecham Boss Windsor is a fairly well balanced car. This one's actually got a strong shot at coming out on top. Let's see, the Castro Milo Escobar. What was the engine on this one again? I don't remember everything. The Einwagen Tourer was the all-wheel drive car with the 5. Yeah, this one actually did very well at everything as well. And the Medici Cosimo is also one of my favorite cars here, so it's a pretty tough choice. So as a last little bit, what I'm gonna do just to see is gonna go to a different map, and let's see, where do we go? No. I'm actually gonna go to the drag strip, but I'm not really gonna time the quarter mile time. But instead, I'm gonna just see how they launch here, how they accelerate, and then move to the track there, which has a couple of really tight corners as well, to see how they stack up here. That'll be the final test then. So 1, 2, 3, 4, these 4, yeah. No, it's not a drag race. I just want to see sort of the general how they launch here, and 4.98 seconds 0 to 63, that's pretty good. Passing the quarter mile at like 104, 105. Very good brake bite, strong and stable braking. I like it. Yeah, okay. This could use just a little bit more rear tire in my opinion. It handles pretty well though, I gotta give it that. The only thing is that it oversteers too abruptly once it does let go. And it doesn't take too much to make it let go. We've had cars that can let go as well, but are actually more predictable when they do so. This one is just like, yep, it's gone again. Whoa. But other than that, it brakes well. It turns in nicely, but I like it, but it does let go pretty quickly, and it's hard to control once it does spin up the rear tires. Let's see. Just a quick little drive here in this one. .8 seconds to 62 miles an hour, and only 96 miles an hour on the quarter mile. Yeah, this was the V10 entry, wasn't it? I think this is the least powerful car in the competition. It's like 303 or something along those lines. It doesn't oversteer much though. It handles very directly. Yeah, the brake balance is also very front biased. Well, not very front biased, okay. But somewhat front biased. Yeah, I did not like the engine very much in automation, and I have to say it doesn't feel particularly powerful here either. especially in the low RPMs. Once it does rev up, it's okay. It handles well, but I mean, can I really fault it for being slow? It's the slowest car in the competition in a straight line. So I guess if I'm ever gonna fault it for being slow, then I gotta put it into perspective that way. Oh, my mistake. Although I do have to say it handles pretty well. I just wish it had a better engine. Really. The Cosimo. .28 seconds. .104, 105 miles an hour on the quarter mile, just like we've seen in the first car we tested this way. Good steady braking. Some understeer in these tight corners, but that's expected from a big car like this. As I explained in the beginning of the stream, some understeer is fine, lots of understeer is not fine. I like this. I like this car a lot, actually. It's just well-rounded and predictable in everything it does. It's got the torque, it's got the power. It handles reasonably well, it rides very well, as we've seen. I can't really think of a weak point on this car. The engine's good, the suspension's good. It pulls, it rides well, handles well. This is gonna be tough to beat. So the only car left, the last car that we're testing this way, out of the 4 that we've set out to test here, is this one. According to automation, I had too much front bias. In other words, automation does not result in good driving behavior. Yeah, 5.26 seconds, so this one's pretty much up there with the other ones in acceleration. Slightly lower top speed on the quarter mile, more like 101, 102 rather than 104, 105. Braking's good. In other words, automation does not result in good driving behavior. See, what you have now, that corner, I missed that corner because I was looking at chat, but regarding what you just said, Scrum says, you have to look at the steering graph in automation and see, you know, in the x-axis tells you when the car starts understeering. So eventually, like every car will understeer or oversteer. But well, I can just go back to automation and show you what I mean. And this also drives pretty well. Yeah, okay, now this is could see what the takeoff speed is from the Leopard. Okay, but remember we limited it to 250 kilometers an hour, but I doubt it's gonna get there in time before the takeoff. So let's just see what it's gonna do. We're gonna get to like 130. 134. 134 miles an hour. That's 100. That's like 216 kilometers an hour. But choosing a winner between these cars is not going to be easy. But I'm gonna go with the Cosimo because while the Eindhoven also drives very well, I thought I preferred the engine on the Cosimo, and also I prefer the Lux. It looks more elegant and it looks more, you know, like a luxury sedan, whereas the Einwagen Tourer, I did not like the design that much, and it drives really well though, but so does the Cosimo, and I prefer the way that it looks. As a result, I will choose this as the winner because it really doesn't have any weakness. The engine's good, the steering's good, the braking's good, it looks good. I can't really find any weak point on this one. It's a very well-rounded car. And thereby, let me just check, just to not mess up. It is, yeah, congratulations to Carlo Vincenzetto for winning this community challenge. You built the best car in my opinion, and therefore I will award you with the victory in this community challenge. Congratulations. So yeah, this will be it for the stream. As I said, I don't really know when I'm gonna do the next stream because I don't know yet how how my internet is gonna be once I move back to the other place. But I'm gonna keep you guys updated on YouTube. Wait. Dr. Love, wasn't your car the this one, the Escobarda? I thought you said that was your car. Anyway, I'm gonna call the stream, and stay tuned. Don't forget to click the bell on my YouTube channel so you get notified whenever I upload something new. Otherwise, even if you're subscribed, YouTube may not send out the notifications whenever I post something new. So make sure to click the bell, and that way you will always see whenever I upload something new. Thanks for tuning in. That'll be it for today, and see you next time. Bye bye.